After months of development, we're incredibly proud to announce Axiom 4.0 is ready to release. In this overhaul, we're focused on improving the UI and also improving the engine that underpins Axiom. Also, we can focus on future releases where we're going to improve the onboarding experience and the power of existing features. And to top it off, we've also refreshed the design of the builder, focusing on reducing the noise, making it more compact and consistent. I'm Alex Barlow, co-founder of Axiom. Let's dive in and find out what's new in this release. Quickly, you are going to notice some big changes to how your axioms are made, but don't worry, all your old axioms are backwardly compatible. We've got your back on that one. And now for what's new. First up, nesting. Now with the previous versions of Axiom, we had this flat structure and a loop inside an interact step. This worked great for simple axioms, but we discovered it didn't work for complex ones. So we've introduced nesting to solve this. Let me take you through it a little. Without further ado, let me show you some of these new nested features that we have within Axiom. So this is a Spotify template I've made especially for Axiom 4.0. And you'll see that I've got step 2, I've got our brand new loop through data step. This is a step that can take advantage of nesting, similar to the interact step, except for 2 key differences. One, you can nest any step inside it. So you can put a write step or a delete Google Sheet step inside. You couldn't do that in the interact. And the second key difference is that you can nest loops within loops up to 4 levels, making building complex automations a lot simpler with Axiom. And on screen, if you take a look at step 2, you'll see our first loop. And then we have a nested loop here at step 2.4 that executes a different set of steps. Now, as if that isn't good enough, we're also adding new steps to take advantage of this new nested functionality. If I open up the new step finder, more about that later, and I search for if, you'll see we've now got an if condition step that we can use to make our automations. And this step will basically check a condition and only execute if that condition is true or false. And we haven't stopped there. We've also added, at the request of a user, a try catch step. This is a great step that if you know your automation is going to have an error in it, but it's not always consistent, you can basically add a different set of steps to execute if that error is thrown. That's a pretty powerful and useful step. And we're going to be adding even steps that take advantage of this nesting functionality in the coming releases. Next up, snippets. These are a great way to kick off making your Axiom. So let me just open up Axiom, click on New. I'm going to add my first step, but instead of searching for a step, I'm going to use a snippet. These are essentially combinations of steps that allow me to get off to a quick start in making my Axiom. Now, I know I want to fill in some data, so let me just click on that snippet. I've got the essential steps that I need to start making my Axiom just by clicking that snippet. I've got a go-to page to load the page where I want to enter the data to, and I've got an enter text so I can start adding some data, and a click element so I can try submitting that data. So straight away I can get off to a quick start when building my Axiom with this new snippets feature. Next up, brand new, is storing cookies in the cloud. So if you're running an Axiom in the cloud and you don't want to add login steps, you can go to the settings, the kebab menu top right of that Axiom. You can click on that, go to settings, and then go down to the bottom of the left-hand menu and you'll see store cookies. This feature now allows you to specify cookies that you wish to store, share into the cloud so you don't have to use those pesky little login steps anymore. By the way, all cookies are stored encrypted and we only store the ones that you select. Next up, we've improved how you can manage your steps, how you can duplicate them, disable them, all using this nifty little tool that was in the previous version of Axiom, but we've just improved the design. And being an Axiom builder myself, this is one of my favorite improvements. Let me just show you. I'm going to open up the template you saw earlier, And now we've got this super obvious tick box to show you that you can select steps. Now, I can select a series of steps within inside that list. And if I just want to move or duplicate those steps, I can just move the pointer around to highlight the place where I want them to go. I click once, and then I just click move here. That's pretty awesome. And you may have noticed, if I've gone and built my axiom without adding a loop, but I want to add one later, we've also got the ability to now add a loop within this functionality. So I can just click loop. It will let me select the loop step that I want. And there we go. I've added those or moved those steps into a loop rather. You'll also notice a handy little feature that I find useful is that when I want to disable or enable steps when I'm testing an axiom, I can now do it through this method. I just want to re-enable those steps, so I'm just going to click enable. It's pretty cool. I think that's a really neat improvement in this version of Axiom. Next, you can also limit the runtime of your bot. Just in case you've got a bot that is running into issues and it hangs or keeps running, if you go into settings, the kebab menu in the top right of the axiom that you want to change, you can see at the bottom we've got maximum runtime, and in here you can constrain the bot so it will automatically terminate when that limit is hit. Next up, the improved step finder. Now, we're big fans of Notion. We love their keyboard first approach, so we wanted to weave a little bit more of that into the Axiom builder. This is the new step finder. I'm going to open up Axiom. I'm going to add my first step. Before I show you some of the new cool keyboard tricks, let me just talk you through about the layouts of the change. So when you first open the step finder, you'll see the beginner snippets, which I've just shown you. You'll also see our steps are now arranged into categories. Let me just open one of those categories, our brand new loop category. There you'll then be presented the steps in that category. Also, you'll then be able to scroll down and access all the steps within Axiom. And of course, you can still search for your steps here, but you can also use our little quick links here to scroll to categories of steps. Those are pretty cool, neat little changes to our Axiom finder here, but this is one of the cool changes that I really like. Let me just show you. So one of my big bugbears being an Axiom builder is when I'm building a bot for a form and I've got like 6 enter text steps that I want to add. Now, previous versions of Axiom, I'd add each of those steps. I'd like enter text, add a step, enter text, add a step. But now, watch this. Enter text using this suffix. Oh, I haven't clicked in the box. Enter text. Now, using this suffix, I'm going to add 6 enter text steps straight away. And I'm not going to do it by clicking on the step. You can still do that. I'm just going to press return. And this is some of our new keyboard first functionality with our step finder. And look at this. I've added all those steps in one go. And that's a neat little time saver when creating your axioms. Next up, a small change in our ChatGBT step. You can now use version 3.5 Turbo or ChatGBT 4. Next, internal docs. Now, we've worked hard to improve our docs for Axiom 4.0 and we're going to continue improving them, but also how you access them is changing. So we're bringing them into the extension so we can contextualize them so when you're a little bit stuck making your bots, you can access the information you need to unblock yourself and get you automating. So here you can see our brand new docs sidebar that's going to be integrated even more seamlessly into Axiom. Let me just whiz you through the last remaining things. We've improved IFrame support. If I quickly just show you, if I use the Axiom selector tool, you'll see we've got an option to toggle IFrame support on or off within the selector tool itself. That used to be in settings. Now, you'll know when you'll need it is when basically the highlighter turns blue. That means there's an iframe present. Okay, let me just close that. We've also added a configuration option to the scraper where you can specify exact number of pixels to scroll instead of using our auto scrolling feature. There are some other minor fixes that we squeezed into this epic release as well. But if you want to read about those, keep on reading the page if you're watching the video at the top, or if you're on YouTube, go to Axiom.ai, go to product, and then release notes if you want to read more. It's been super exciting talking about this release, but it wouldn't have been possible without the team. So a big thank you to Boris, a big thank you to Rizwan, Tonya, Matt, and of course to the founders, myself, Simon and Yassir. We're looking forward to the next release because now we can do bigger and better things.